What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode. This is episode number 41. We start today's stuff on the back of our win at St Mary's 2-0 against Southampton. Obviously to start the season off, 4 wins in our first 5 in the Premier League. That 1 draw coming at home to the current champions in the save, Chelsea. And of course we made it through our second round of the EFL Cup to make it through to the third round here, away at Bramwell Lane against the Blades, Sheffield United. Just real briefly on the EFL Cup. Now obviously I've mentioned in the past before that, you know, the competition is great and a great chance for the lower league teams to possibly go a little bit further in the cup, because it's not normally regarded as a priority by the bigger teams until they reach the latter rounds. I totally understand that. I really do. An incentive to play those games and take them more seriously for the lower league clubs, because you never know. I mean, you know, we'll never forget Bradford City's famous run all those years ago to the final. First League 2 team in God knows how long to get all the way to a domestic cup final. Obviously in the end Swansea City beat them comfortably in the final at Wembley, but still it was one of those surreal moments. You know, I remember their penalty shootout victories and just thinking, like, this is unbelievable. You know, like, if they go all the way, it'll be one of the greatest Cinderella stories of all time. Even if it is the League Cup, you know, it's an incredible story for Bradford City to go and do that, go all the way to the final. But as I've said before, I think for me the EFL Cup, you know, the old me would have just been very blunt and very brutally honest to say you got to scrap it. You know, scrap the competition and just have one domestic cup, you know, the league, and then also there's European competitions as well for those to get in there. I don't know if I still hold that belief, to be honest, but you know, when we talk about, you know, modern day football, you know, one of the arguments that constantly gets drawn up is that players are too tired. There's too many games, they're too fatigued, there's too much travel, too many match days in a season, and so on. And of course this season, as we know, we've now had the rule change introduced that Premier League teams can now make 5 subs in a game. You go back just a couple of years ago, you can only do 3. It's jumped up from 3 to 5 in just a couple of years. You know, it's crazy when you think about it. Now, I will say this. I am in favour of that. I've always been in favour of that. I have always been in favour of increasing the amount of subs you can make in a game, as you got through the Blaze there, courtesy of a last-minute winner through Decker Taylor. Totally got away with that one there. I would have lost it on penalties. Thankfully, got gifted a late winner. You know, I've always been in favour of that. You know, you get 7 subs on the bench. Back in my day, and I know we go back a while, but back in my day, you could only have 5 subs on the bench. 5 got increased to 7, and now the amount you can make of those 7 subs is now 3 up to 5. I've always been in favour of that because, like, to me, if you've got those players on the bench, I think you should be able to rotate the team, you know, frequently. I don't believe in rolling subs and continuous subs, but I do think 5 is the right amount. I would have said, you know, going from 3 to 4 and then 4 to 5. Yeah, that makes sense, you know. So I think that's a good rule change. But one of the reasons that's been brought in is, well, because as we know, players are often, you know, being telling managers and coaching staff and physio teams they're tired, they're getting little niggling injuries here and there. There's a lot more wear and tear these days, as we know, even though players do keep themselves in a fitter frame of mind, with a fitter body for a longer season, you know, for a season that goes on. You know, players nowadays are far fitter than they used to be. I mean, let's just be honest, that's just complete truth. But again, like, with the World Cup coming this year in the winter, the Premier League now making it so there's 5 subs that can be available to use during a game. Like, the argument for this being introduced is because there's too many games, right? So, scrap a competition. You've already got one domestic cup. What do you need another one for? Like, you've already got one. There's one domestic cup. We don't have to have the other one. And if players are constantly getting too tired and constantly getting burned out and managers complaining about fixture congestion, scrap a competition. Scrap a competition then. And it puts more emphasis on the FA Cup as well. Now, there are a lot of people that argue that the FA Cup nowadays has lost its spark, it's lost its magic, and that teams now treat the cup as an excuse to rotate their first team. You know, it's a chance to give fringe players an opportunity, especially the bigger teams in the earlier rounds. A lot of people would argue that the FA Cup has lost its magic. I don't personally believe that completely. You do still see, in my opinion, the Magic still alive for many teams. You saw Boreham Wood last year have an amazing run, a non-league side going and knocking out Bournemouth away. They, of course, faced Everton in that run as well. You go back a couple years before, Sutton United, they're now a League Two side, but they went all the way to was it the quarterfinals they got to, or possibly the last 16? One of the two. I think it might have been the last 16 actually, but one of the two, and ended up taking on Arsenal. I think the Magic of the Cup is still definitely alive for the smaller teams, no doubt about it. The lower league clubs and also non-league teams, of course, absolutely. One of my favourite rounds of the FA Cup is the first proper round, because that's when you get proper grassroots level teams. The low, super low teams, even outside of the National League South and North, taking on full professional teams. I think it's fantastic. Amateur versus pro, it really is a brilliant gap between the two, and occasionally you'll see a proper giant killing from an amateur side. It's fantastic, or perhaps a semi-pro side, if you will. The FA Cup to me still has its magic, but I really do feel as though if the EFL Cup was to be scrapped, we would see teams take it even more seriously. How many times do you see like a big club get all the way to the quarterfinals and they'll still be resting players? Not an entire squad, but they'll still be fielding perhaps half of their bench and reserve players, if you will, if they're taking on a side that's, of a lesser quality and perhaps in the second tier, maybe in the Championship, because it's the FA Cup, and the Premier League nowadays is deemed as far more important to win, particularly due to the prize money, of course, I understand that, than the FA Cup. If you asked a team in the Premier League, what would you rather win, the Premier League or the FA Cup? I would say 9 out of 10 fans of a Man City, a Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, United, whatever, would probably say the Premier League. I think 9 out of 10 fans, not all, some would still say they prefer to see them win the FA Cup, but I think most would say the Premier League. I really do feel as though, again, with the FA Cup, if you were to get rid of the EFL Cup and you were to scrap the competition, well, firstly, the fixture congestion would be nowhere near as bad as it is currently right now, especially for the biggest of clubs when you've got 2 domestic cups alongside the Premier League, 38-game season, and also the Europa League, Champions League, and now the Europa Conference League for those that are in it as well. So, of course, it will reduce the amount of games, reduce the amount of travel, reduce the amount of midweek fixtures, and that can only be a good thing for rest and recovery for all players, not just for the big teams, but all players that are currently in the Football League and the Premier League as well, right? So, yeah, I think that would be one reason to do it, but I think it also would put more emphasis on the FA Cup as well. Teams would be not necessarily forced to, but would want to take it more seriously, knowing there's not another domestic cup to win. You've got the FA Cup, and that's it. That's the only domestic cup you can win in England if you're a Premier League or a Championship side in the Bucks. Of course, the Johnson's Paint Trophy in League 1, League 2. I don't think it's called Johnson's Paint Trophy nowadays. EFL Trophy, I think it's called. But even so, that's just my opinion on it, because I think what we've seen recently is that, for example, in the Bundesliga, you've only got the one cup, the DFB Pokal, and in French football, they actually scrapped their League Cup. Now, a lot of people don't know this, who don't follow French football. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really follow French football myself, but I do keep up to date with it. I noticed that a couple of years ago, they decided, I think it was the 2019-2020 season, that was the final one, they scrapped the Coupe de la Ligue, which is the League Cup. That's the equivalent of the EFL Cup in France. They scrapped it back in the 2019-2020 season, so now they've just got the Coupe Nationale, which is the French version of the FA Cup. So they've done away with it to help with fixture congestion as well. And by the way, I thought it was just class. Won a penalty here for our penultimate game of the episode against Newcastle. And I had to do it like Erling Haaland did against West Ham last weekend. Bottom corner. It was brilliant. It was the first penalty I'd won with Man City. Haaland taken. I had to do his trademark celebration, just like against West Ham as well. For the realism, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way. Had to do it, man. Had to do it. It was so class how it came off exactly like in real life as well. But yeah, so there's no League Cup in German football. There's no League Cup in French football now. I don't believe there's one in this Serie A either, though I might be wrong. And of course in Spain you got the Copa del Rey, and there is the Super Cup, of course, during the winter, but that's only for 4 teams. I really do feel English football would benefit more in terms of rest and recovery for their players if the EFL Cup was scrapped. And a lot of people don't agree with me there, and I'm not as passionate about it as I used to be. I still do believe that if I had to vote for it, if you were as a football fan, vote for it, scrap or keep, I would probably still scrap it. But even so, I think that's my reason why. I feel as though there's just too many games, too much congestion. And when people talk about, oh, there's too many games, too much congestion, too much fixture overload, it's not good for the players and so on, I think, to me, it would just make sense to put more emphasis on the FA Cup, make it the only domestic cup to win in English football for the Premier League and Championship sides. I'd also do away with the EFL Trophy as well for the lower league clubs too. And again, more emphasis on that, and also as well, I mean, there's less fixture congestion and more people would take the FA Cup more seriously as well. I'd love to know your opinions though, because I think that the League Cup is still something clubs do want to win, but I find as though it's not normally until the very later stages where the clubs will take it more seriously, unless they are one of the smaller teams, because they're looking to go far for the prize money, but also perhaps the TV revenue as well of facing a big team potentially away from home for the big payday, if you will, for like a League One, League Two side. But let me know in the comments what you think though. I've got to say, for a while now I've had this opinion, and it's one of my more controversial football opinions. You know, normally I'm in favour of just the way things are. You know, a bit of a traditionalist, as some of you guys know. The fact I've been doing these YouTube videos for 10 years and not too much has changed should let you know that I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but this is definitely something I would be in favour of in terms of a change in the way English football is currently run. Even so, for that game there, we thrashed the Magpies, Newcastle United, bottom of the league, start the season off by 6-0. Goodness gracious me, that penultimate goal in that game there. It was one of the worst pieces of goalkeeping I've ever seen. I mean, it didn't matter. We absolutely dominated possession, thoroughly deserved the win, but my word, I don't know what on earth happened there. I think the shot took a deflection and the goalkeeper got wrong-footed by it, but he had so much time to react. He just comically fell over. Embarrassing. Didn't matter in the end. We were going to win the game regardless, and comfortably too, but even so, a very cheap and easy goal getting scored there. And for our final game of today's episode, on a really good streak right now, Leeds United away, Ellen Road. Big clash here against Jesse Marsh's side. Leeds versus Man City, always a good little battle here. And 0-0 at half-time. In the second half, Leeds hit the woodwork. Still deadlocked, still goalless. Now, I'll be totally honest here, just thrashed the Magpies 6-0. Biggest win of Man City so far in this game. Couldn't break Leeds down. Could not get inside. Could not create chances. 25 minutes to go. Still deadlocked at 0-0. And I just about managed to break the deadlock with really the only half chance I got in the second half. KDB receives the ball 20 yards from goal and belts one in to the back of the net to win it for us. Final score, Leeds 0, Man City 1. Heradici finally beaten, and Leeds' brilliant defence finally breached as well. That was a tough game. Only a couple of goals for Erling Haaland in the last few games. His fantastic start has slowed down a little bit, but I don't mind who gets to the goals as long as we get the win. Scraped through that one, grinded out the 1-0 victory, but as I often say, that's what the best need to do, that's what champions need to do. Even when they're not playing the best, even when they're not clicking or firing all cylinders, find a way to win. We did 1-0 the final score, and that means start the season off only undefeated side in the league. Top scorers, fewest conceded, 7 wins and 2 draws in 9 games on 3 points to the top of the table. Long way to go, but still a great start for Manchester City. But that will end today's episode of the Really Summer Criminal, guys. Big fan, fortunate you enjoyed it. If you haven't, please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day. Let me know your thoughts on my opinions on the EFL Cup in the comments, and I'll see you for the next episode of Really Summer Career Mode very soon.